Hey, Emily. So thanks for doing this. What I'm going to do basically is ask you some questions that I've been getting phone calls about regarding the application and the room retention process, and maybe even take a pick at the self-assign, just so that people know kind of how this whole process works, especially for new students who've never done the self-assignment, and even the application for returning students is a little bit different. So why don't we just start with literally as it goes at number one.
All right, sure. So here's the contract renewal application. Pull this over here. So the first step is, of course, the contract renewal application. You're going to go through the application. I'm just going to walk through it. First, you'll put in your roommate group PIN. If you don't have a roommate, just put in any number. You can
wait, let's stop there. Where did you get the roommate group PIN? I didn't get an email with my group PIN. How do I know what number to
This
put?
is where you enter your roommate group PIN.
So I don't get it from you?
No, it's a created field. So
Okay.
it's your name or your university ID, except this field can be customized by you, so you can change it. When you want to be a part of a group, you give this number along with your university ID number. But let's say all of a sudden I decide I don't want to live with Mary, and I had already given her my university ID and roommate group PIN. I can go back in and change my roommate group PIN so she can't pull me into a room.
Okay, but what I'm going to be having a single room for next year, so I'm not going to have a roommate.
Then you just put in a random number and keep going.
Okay, but I have to put some number in there.
Correct, yes.
Got it. Okay.
That's just so that our students who have groups are aware of the field and that they put it in if they want to be in a group. And then you can select your meal plan. These are the ones you have to choose from for now. But in June, when your charges are placed in your UNC Genie account, you can change them to something different if you're eligible.
What? Yeah, so why can't I do them now?
Because some of the meal plans that aren't listed aren't eligible for certain places on campus. So once you're assigned and UNC Genie knows where you're assigned, you have different meal plan options.
Okay, so and I heard that if you live in Spartan Village, you don't even have to have a meal plan.
Yep, in June you'll be able to select that as your meal plan in UNC Genie.
Oh, okay, cool.
All right, next is the housing contract. So you'll see a version of the contract. You can download it or you can email it to yourself so you can have a copy of it. It's also always on our website if you want to look through it. We encourage you to read it and understand as much, as you can. If you have any questions, you can always send an email to hrl@uncg.edu. Next, you'll have to click on each of these assertions. Make sure you understand the contract is for the full academic year and that you need to says that I understand that although precautions are taken to maintain appropriate security, the university assumes no responsibility for injuries to persons or loss of or damage to items of personal property that occur in its building or on its grounds prior to, during, or subsequent to the terms of this contract. The student and his or her parent or legal guardians are strongly encouraged to purchase and maintain appropriate insurance to cover such losses. So this is just information about renter's insurance. We encourage our students to get that.
Okay. What if I just want to live for the fall semester?
So you're bound to the contract for the full academic year. If you're not going to be a student for the spring semester, you're graduating or you transfer, withdrawal or whatever, you'll be released from the contract. Otherwise, you're bound to it for the full academic year. Why aren't you wanting to live here in the spring?
Well, I have some buddies that are going to have a room for me in an apartment. So I thought I could just live here for the fall semester and go live with them.
Right. The contract's for the full academic year, so that would not be a reason you'd be able to be released from the contract. You'd still have to pay the rate for the full academic year.
Okay. What about if I transfer?
Yes, you'll be released from it because you're no longer a student for the spring semester.
Okay. Are there any fees involved with that?
There's a $500 cancellation fee if you cancel it after July 1st.
Okay. Got it. But I don't get a cancellation fee if I graduate, right? Yeah, I think it says something in there that basically if you're graduating, you don't have to pay the cancellation fee.
Gotcha. If
Because
you're,
that would be pretty bad.
but we get that list from a graduation from the university.
Right. In fact, what I heard was a couple of years ago, they started giving the prepayment back to those students because that gets applied in the spring semester. So not only do you graduate, get released from your contract, but you're going to get your $200 back, which is pretty good. And by the way, we didn't talk about that, but where's that prepayment going?
So the prepayment will be applied to your spring semester. We haven't got to the prepayment yet.
Okay. We're
Yeah,
just doing
this is the first step. First, you got to do the contract before you can do the prepayment.
Got it.
So once you've agreed to it, you've understand it, you can email the contract. Once you've done all of that, click finish, and you now have a application, but it's not complete yet. So you'll check to see if it's waived or make the prepayment. I'm going to go show you it from the main page. You can do it from the main page of Artemis, just in case you accidentally click out of the finish step. You can click here to see if your prepayment is waived. And mine is not waived. If it is, it'll say you've been waived. If your prepayment is waived and you make the prepayment, which is an option, and you will still be able to make the prepayment even if you are waived, but you won't get that money refunded until the spring semester if you're still with us. So make sure you check that before you make the prepayment.
Yeah, we kind of skipped over that. We probably should have gone right to 2 and just said, yeah, check the prepayment.
Mm-hmm.
So, and what are the qualifications to get the prepayment waived?
So the prepayment waiver is based on your 2021-2022 FAFSA. EFCs has to be 1,000 or below. So
Okay.
if FAFSA has an EFC of 1,000 or below, you will automatically be waived. So when you complete your application and you click on this and it says prepayment waived, then your application is complete.
Okay.
And you'll be able to be eligible to go down to the next thing. If not, and you need to make the prepayment, if you're like, well, I haven't done my FAFSA, but it's February 20th, and I know the guaranteed deadline is the 21st, I would suggest going ahead and making the prepayment so you can be a part of that. If you can't afford it and you want to wait, you just fall into that non-priority category and not be able to select housing until March 9th.
Let me get this straight. So can I make the prepayment before I do the contract?
No, you have to do the contract application first.
All right. So I can check to see if I waived or not, but then I have to then go to the contract, fill it all the way out, go all the way and hit that finish button.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then it's going to take me to a page where I can make the prepayment.
Yeah, so you can go from that page or you can go back to the main page. So if you decide you want to wait, you need to go home, see your mom or dad to get their card information, you can do that. You just log back into Artemis. Again, this is the main page in Artemis.
Right.
You can check to see if it's waived and make your prepayment.
All right. But if I make the prepayment, then I realize that actually could have been waived. Can't you guys just void it?
No, we cannot. Once it's been made, it's been applied to your account. And so we've noted that you have that $200 and it'll be applied to your spring account if you're still with us. If you cancel for whatever reason, then you'll lose that $200.
Oh, okay. All right. That's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, so, we have questions by students. So can I keep the same room I had for next year? How do I go about doing that? And which room, can everybody do that?
No, actually, the only people who can do room retention are traditionally Spartan Village, Tower Village, and Spring Garden. Tower Village, there's no one assigned there this year, so that one is going to be scratched. And then we've allowed a lot of our students in traditional halls to buy out the double room and make it a single. And so we're calling those traditional singles for next year. And the students in Cone, Reynolds, Moorstrong, Ragsamen Hall, and Phillips Hawkins will be able to go in and room retain. We will also allow Wheel Winfield to go in and room retain. I'm going to send them a separate email, and I'll show you, I can show you the process of that in a minute. But first, do you want me to show you how I can?
Oh, wait a minute. So I don't have a single room now, but can I get one? Can I sign up for a single room right now?
No, you would have to wait. If you want to sign up, you're not in a single room right now, you can't buy it out. If you're in a and you have a roommate, you can't buy it out for next year. What you can do is you can sign up during individual self-assign And if there are any available, you can select them there.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, so we have students that are in like the Quad and Jefferson. So how do they retain their rooms?
They aren't able to retain their rooms. Those spaces will be made available during the groups of 4 and 3 and groups of 2 self-assigned.
Why couldn't a student retain their room in the Quad or Jefferson?
That is a decision that was made by housing, that we want to make sure those spaces are all available and fair game for group and individual self-assigned.
Oh, so it's kind of like a chance for the freshmen to move up into better housing as opposed to just the traditional double room.
Exactly, yes.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, well, I talk about, show how the room retention works. It sounds like it could be complicated.
All right, so this is going to be what I've assigned myself into a space. And so the first step is you select the booking terms, and these are the semesters that you're booking the housing for, again, for fall and spring. By clicking on select your current room, you begin the process. So click on, I'm putting myself back into Spring Garden 022A. And then I have to select my meal plan. And then that's it. So it's pretty simple. And then if I wanted to pull in a roommate.
No, wait a second. So basically, all you need to do is go to that room retention button, hit it. Do I have to remember what my room number is?
Nope, it just pops up automatically.
So the only room I can retain is my own room.
Correct.
Okay. All right. What if I want another room in the apartment that I'm in?
You'll just need to send an email to HRL after you've retained your room, asking if you can switch around, and we'll work with your other roommates to make sure they don't want to retain. That's key too. When it comes to moving within the apartment or roommate pull-in, you really need to talk to your current spring roommates to make sure that they don't want to pull someone in or retain their space.
All right. So we had a question about somebody that's like in a 2-bedroom in Lexington, and they currently don't have a roommate, but they're kind of in the smaller apartment. They'd like to can they basically retain that other room?
Yeah, they'll need to retain their current space and then send an email to HRL before room retention ends and say, can I pull myself into the other space? And we'll allow that. We'll have to do it manually. There's not a set process for them to do that. They'll have to email us and we'll do it manually for them.
Okay. But if I want to pull somebody else in, I just put their name in on the room retention form?
So yeah, so you click on roommate pull in. I just clicked on that and this popped up. You'll see that this is the terms I'm selecting, and you can see this is the space that I've retained, Spring Garden 022A.
Right.
So then I'll select my roommates, and I'm actually going to select the one I just...
What's that number you're putting in?
So this is going to be the university ID number, 124.
So you have to know the person's ID number.
You have to know their university ID number. And so I'm about to pull in Minnie Jameson to live with me in Spring Garden. Okay. So I'm going to search for her. I found her, Minnie Lou Jameson. She's named after the building. Jameson was named after her. And I put in her roommate group PIN. Again, this is what she just created on her application. So I've now added her. I can add up to how many of her roommates I hold in my room. If you only have one space, you can only do one. If you're in a 2-bedroom, you obviously only have one roommate. I could add up to 3 in here. Again, I need to talk to my roommates, because if I pull Minnie Lou Jameson into 022B and the student assigned there for spring wants to retain the room, we're going to cancel Minnie Jameson's assignment and allow the person in that space to retain the room. We always give priority to the people in the room.
So
only until the deadline of February.
Let me go back then. So once again, let's go back again, try to do that over again if we can.
Oh, you want me to cancel it and do it again?
Yeah, cancel it and let's do it again.
Okay.
I didn't quite understand. It went pretty fast there. All right, so now I want to put somebody, it says university ID. Where's the PIN go?
You have to search for them first.
Okay, so now I've searched for them. Oh, and then it is, okay, I've got to put the group PIN. So if I just have their ID number, it's not going to let me put them in.
No.
All right.
And honestly, if I put in like, let's say 2021 instead, if I put in the wrong pin, it's
Right.
you have entered an incorrect pin.
Got it. Got it. So yeah, so if the person I wanted to pull in changed their mind, doesn't want to live with me, they could change their group pin and then I can't pull them in.
They sure can.
Wow. That's,
And this is the same kind of idea for groups assignments as well.
so basically whether it's, okay, so okay, yeah, well, that'll be probably in the next video that we do when we start to talk about groups of 2, 3, and 4. You'll see kind of very much the same screen. It's just that you'll need to know their name, their ID number, and then their group and the group pin that the whole group is using to sign up.
And although we do recommend the whole groups use the same university or same roommate group pin, but they don't all have to be.
Right.
Like group member number 1 can be 2020, and the next one be 2021, and the next one 2022. It doesn't have to be the same number. That number is attached to each person. So Minnie Lou Jameson's roommate group pin is 1, 2, 3, 4. But my roommate group pin could be 2021. So it doesn't have to be the same, but we do encourage groups to make them all the same so that it's easier when you're entering in roommates. All you have to do is enter their ID number and then your group's roommate group pin.
Okay. So there's only one person setting up the group. Not all 4 people or 3 people have to go in and do it. Just one person can do it.
Correct.
So what if they sign me up for the wrong room?
That is what you have to risk when you give someone your roommate group pin. So that's it. You have to make sure you trust who you're giving it to. You can even say, hey, I'm going to wait until I watch you assign myself and be with that person to give them the roommate group pin. You don't have to give it to them beforehand. We do encourage that just because, especially when it comes to group processes, it can be, it can go really fast. Spaces go really fast. So if you want to be, prepared, but yeah, when you give that person, when you give someone your roommate group pin, you got to be willing to do whatever that person's going to do. You got to trust them.
Right. So it's interesting with the pandemic, we're doing this on Zoom, but I guess now you could literally have your group all get on a Zoom call. One person can basically log into Mercury, share the screen, and watch along as you're doing it. And so if you have any questions, or if you want to try again, you can all be right there instead of having to be all bunched up in a room, not socially distanced.
That's true. That's very good.
You might want to practice your Zoom game a little bit. My guess is the students are already sharing screens and things like that. It's actually pretty simple for them to do that. And also then if you have them all together, if there's some question about the PIN number, they can quickly change it and give you a number. It happens pretty much instantaneously.
Yep.
No, that's actually a new way of doing it. Well, the pandemic's good for something.
So with the roommate pull-in, the next thing you'll do is you'll be able to select, and you get to actually, when it comes to roommate pull-in, you get to put people in which space. So if you want Minnie Lou to be in the B with you, or if you're like, actually, I know the person in C is graduating, but the one in B is retaining her room, so I'll put her in C so that we can make sure she doesn't, the person in C is going to graduate. So that's the best place to put her. Or you can put her in D, whichever one, but you can only put her in one place. Does that make sense? You got any questions?
That makes sense, yeah. Hey, so we got some questions about people who have friends that are coming to the institution or people that didn't live on campus this year but now want to come back in the fall. How can I get one of them in there?
So that's a great question. Back to the way you pulled them in, you'd be able to pull them in the same exact way. The only thing is they have to have a complete application. Good thing is this process opens on February 16th and the new application opens February 15th. So as long as they have completed their application, you should be able to pull them in. If they have, you have to wait till they do their application and hopefully they do it before the 21st or 22nd.
I was gonna say, does it make any difference if I do the room retention on the first day or the 21st?
No, the only person you're competing with is your other roommates. And again, I'm really hoping you guys are talking to your roommates before you do roommate pull-in, because like you saw, you get to put them in which room you want them in. And if you assign or do a roommate pull-in and your roommate comes back and says, hey, I want to retain that room, we're going to have to deny your roommate pull-in.
So what if I talk about my roommate, but I don't care what, he thinks. If I just pull the person in, what if he tries to do it? What will happen?
He won't be able to. And
Oh,
he'll have to email HRL and say, I can't retain my room. And HRL will come to the conclusion that you've
okay.
pulled someone in and I'm going to cancel your roommate pull-in so your roommate can do room retention.
What? You mean so both of us will not get that room?
Correct. Well, yeah, you both can't pull someone in. Yes.
Whoa, that's not good. Better talk to the roommate. Okay, cool. What's that clock thing going up there for?
So yeah, so you have this much time left. You have just locked the room. You haven't actually booked the room for many. So yeah, you have 7 more minutes. And as you can see, we've even answered a question in this time. So you have 10 minutes total to finish the process. It's not that difficult. You just select the space for her, and then you have to select a meal plan for her as well. Again, these are the meal plans that you can see. This is important for you to know which one she wants. But at the same time, if you don't, she does have the option to change her meal plan once in Genie in the summer. So if you do get it wrong, it's not the end of the world. She can always change it in Genie later. So
Okay, so let me get this right. So
But
if
it's-
you're not
it's
doing it all
helpful.
together, in a room or on Zoom, the information I need from the person I want to pull in is their UNCG ID number,
correct.
their name,
Mhm.
their meal plan preference,
And the roommate group pin.
and I'm sorry, what was that?
The roommate group pin.
And the roommate group pin, and where they want to stay in my apartment, since they know where they're going to be put.
Yeah.
Okay, the A, B, C, or D room in there.
Yes.
Okay. And you can also look at the floor plan to see which rooms share which bathroom, because generally in apartments or suites like that, 2 people are assigned to a bathroom, unless it's one where there's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath where each person has a private one. So that would be probably a pretty good idea to either write that down or put a note on your phone, have the roommate email it to you, and have all that information. Because even though it's 9 minutes, still, if you don't have that and you're scrambling around, you're calling a person, that could be a real problem.
Yeah. And we also have on, if you go to our deadlines, application and self-assignment page, it's going to load. If you go to the group form, because it's more important for groups to be ready. If you go to,
Oh, so you've created like a little form they can fill out?
yes, if you go under the, that's room retention. If you go under the group assignments, we've created a group assignment worksheet that you can work out with your students, so you can put all the information that we need.
Oh, that's cool.
So once you've gotten her where she wants to go, her meal plans, I'm just guessing that's what she wants.
Yeah, and if you give it the wrong meal plan, it's not a big
Sorry.
deal because you can always change it later, right?
Yes, you can always change the meal plan later. Yep. So you'll review her assignment really quick, or you can email it, download it. You can even email it to her, because I think you can change the email address. So if you want to send it to a different email address, you can do that, and then click finish. And she's now booked. It's not booked until she's finished. So you click finish. So now
So if I just email it to her and I don't get finished, what happens?
the timer runs out and the lock is released and the space is back released for someone else to select. Now, again, it's not as important with room retention because you can always just go right back and the space will still be there. But when you're doing group assignments or self-assignments, you have other people competing for this space.
Is there a way to check to see if this assignment actually went through?
Yes, you can click on, and I don't think it's fully set up yet, but you can click on the 2021 housing assignment button. It's still under construction right now, but that'll be where you can see.
So it's like that's on the application now or in Artemis, where you can always look and see what your room assignment is.
Yes.
And it's got your names of your roommates and their email address, all that good stuff. And if you don't see that there, what should you do?
Contact HRL or do the room retention again.
Right.
Roommate poll.
Once you've assigned yourself once, you can't do it again.
Correct, yes.
So that would be a pretty good clue. If you can go back in and do it again, you haven't put that person in.
Yes.
And if you go back in and try to do it again and you can't, then you probably put yourself into a room.
Yes, there's
Pull
probably
somebody in, yeah.
there's probably 2 or 3 things you can do to make sure you've done the assignment correctly. One, you'll get an email. So check your email. If you didn't say you were assigned, it's a pretty good sign you weren't assigned. If you get the finish step at the end saying you have pulled in a roommate, you've assigned yourself, that's what came up right here. You have retained your room. If you don't get a message like that, you probably haven't finished the process. And then lastly, you can check right here. If you have booked yourself, you'll be able to see it in the assignment.
So I had one student, I can't remember last year, and they were really mad because what they did was they went through all this and they even emailed the assignment, okay, that they put the person in. And then, you know, they found out like a week later that they weren't actually assigned. But they showed me like that they had an email that they put themselves in. What happened there?
My suspect is that they emailed at that summary step at the end that I just showed you. They emailed the summary step to themselves or to someone else, but they didn't click finish. When you click finish, an email goes to you and to all of your roommates. So you don't have to worry about emailing that summary step if you know that's going to confuse you. But yeah, you can just go ahead and click finish. Once you click finish, you'll get an email as well. So.
All right. So that will be your proof if something went wrong, is that you've gone to finish and then you've got that. You could even take a screenshot, I guess, of the thing that you finished. It's like that's more important than sending a picture of, I emailed this to somebody, because you can email it to somebody, but you've actually not finished, have you?
Correct. You can email the summary before you finish. Yes.
Okay. And then once again, you can also look in Artemis. I probably would suggest this is then go back to the 21-22 assignment, take a look at that. And if you screenshot that, you've got a receipt of that for that particular day. Okay. Yeah, that would be the kind of stuff that would be important in case something went wrong. Not that it ever does, you know. We don't have any problems with that, that's for sure. But that's the way if you want to have that sort of understanding. Okay, good. Are the room rates on the, when they show that in Artemis, so I know how much I'm paying?
No, but it is on our housing website under Do Your Research, the rate quick chart.
Okay, all right. And some places like in well, I can't room retention, Jefferson, I guess we'll talk about that later, but some places where there's singles and doubles, I guess you got to be careful you're picking the right room for doing that, but I guess we'll talk. All right, so we've done room retention. We've done room retention where you can pull somebody in. That's really primarily for the people that are in places you can do that. What's going to be next?
So this is the main page. So you've done, if you've room retained, you're all done. You don't need to do anything else.
Okay.
If you're like, I can't room retain, I'm living in Jefferson or the Quad, the next thing you'll have to look forward to once you've done these 3 steps at the beginning, if you're ready to select a space, you'll be able to start assignment on March 2nd or March 4th or March 6th, depending on if you're going to be a part of a group or if you're signed up by yourself.
Okay, so I got lots of questions about this. So how do I get a group of 4? How do I get a group of 3? Where do we get these groups? Are there like places you sign up for a group, you know, a bunch of students who want to live in that building and you guys put them together?
So typically groups are formed many different ways. Sometimes people know each other or they're living with each other now. Like let's say right now I'm living in a traditional double and I love my roommate, but we want to live in an apartment. I would be a group of 2 that would go in and self-assign on March 4th. If you want to go on our website and go to find a roommate, you can log in and to this roommate finder, and you can try to post what, you know, like my name's Emily, I'm a freshman about to be a sophomore, and I want to live in Spring Garden, and I like this and that, and you can list all of your what you like, and then someone else can see it, and you can find people that you want to live with. I know there's other social media routes that people take to look for roommates, be it Wi-Fi or whatever, but that's how they find a group. Once they find a group, again, this group worksheet is what it comes in really handy when it comes time. On February 26th, you'll be sent a start time. And so what I would suggest you do is everybody in your group write down their name, their ID number, and their roommate group PIN and get their priority start time. Because what you're going to do is, these are the group members, but let's say group 3 or person number 3 is start time is at 9, start time for number 2 is at 10, and for the person 1, their start time is at 1 p.m. We're going to want to go with the group, person 3's start time. So person 3 would become the group leader, and he would log in and pull in the other 2 roommates.
So how do you determine which group time you get? And when you said I'll get a group time?
So your priority start times will be sent on February 26th. On that day, you'll get an email and it'll say your start time for groups of 4 and 3 is at this time on March 4th or March 2nd. Your group of 2 start time will be at this time on March 2nd, and your individual start time, or March 4th, and your individual start time will be at this time on March 6th. So the days stay the same, but your start time will be different. The reason we do that is if we had 2,000 people get on our system all at the same time, it would crash. So we take everyone who applies during the priority period, that's February 8th to February 21st. Anyone who applies in those days, doesn't matter if it's at the beginning or the end, I put them in a random pool and I give everyone a random number. And then based on that number, I give them a start time. I put about 100 students in each start time, and I do it about every 30 minutes. And so that's how your priority start time is determined.
So if I have a group of 4, we could have literally 4 different start times.
Correct.
So we're going to want to use the person who has got the best start time. We're going to want them to be the person that's signing everybody up.
Correct.
Got it. So does it make any difference whether I'm a current freshman or sophomore or junior?
Not for the group process, but for the individual self-assign, it does.
Okay, so we're all kind of in the same place for that. All right, that makes sense.
And you can also, at this point, one of your group members can be a off-campus non-resident or a new transfer. You'll just have to get their information. Again, I don't know how you would find them, maybe on Canvas, or you just know them, or you have a friend, or
they don't get a group number.
I don't know. Do I?
They don't get a group time. Only students that are living on campus.
Only the priority returners will get that start time, but they can be part of your group. They won't have a start time, so you'd have to mark them out.
So I have a friend that's students have asked if you have a friend that hasn't been admitted yet, how do I pull them in?
You'll have to send an email to HRL. We don't typically assign students if they're not admitted, or hold spaces if they're not admitted. There has to be kind of a special case going on. So that's why I would email your hrl@uncg.edu to let us know what their situation is and why they can't be admitted by then.
Okay. Yeah, and most students, I mean, the admissions application opened up in October, so most of them probably are in anyway.
Yeah.
And since the application periods overlap, it shouldn't be a big deal to do that. Okay, that's good. All right, so that's for groups of 4 and 3. Well, wait a minute. What places can students with 3 people live? I don't see any place. You don't have 3-bedroom apartments.
So the way that the groups work, we've combined 4 and 3 because we understand there are some people who are like, I just can't get a 4th. I can't find someone to be my 4th in a 4-bedroom apartment. And we get that. And they're totally okay with having, just another student, as I've heard the term coined, random student assigned. They're okay with that. We have allowed the groups of 3 to sign up with the groups of 4 because pretty much any space that's a group of 4, a group of 3 can be there. And once they have assigned themselves, we'll just release that 4th space to your individual self-assign. The other thing that creates groups of 3 is room retention. So in Spring Garden and Spartan Village, if only one person in an apartment room retains, then we have 3 more spaces for a group of 3. So that's another way to do it. And then there's one more way. And the quad, we have what we call single doubles. That's a group of 3 as well. You just have to make sure you find someone that wants the single and then 2 people who want the double.
Oh, so I can't sign up for that single in the quad, just the single room and not the double room?
If there's any left over after groups of 3, then those will be released during the individual self-assign.
Whoa, so basically to get first shot at those singles in the three bedroom, actually the single doubles.
Single doubles, yeah.
You need to be ready to go in groups of 3.
Correct, yeah. So that's your chance.
And all those rooms are empty too because nobody's allowed to retain them.
Correct.
Well, that's actually got a pretty good chance then. How many spaces is that between Jefferson and the quad?
There aren't any in Jefferson. Jefferson is all either 4 bed, 2 baths, or the 2 bed, 2 baths with the 2 doubles, doubles or singles, 4 singles.
So does that same apply for a group of 3 in the suites that in Jefferson you could sign up if, you know?
So in Jefferson, yeah, the spaces that are released for groups of 4, some of them will be groups of 3 as well. And that 4th space will just be released during individual self-assign.
Okay. And then what about groups of 2? Because I looked on the housing website and they had the configurations and there were these singles. Mm-hmm. You don't sell those as one person, just individual assign?
No, they'll be released as groups of 2.
Oh.
Individual, yeah.
Okay.
There's any left, and I'll be honest, I've been doing this for a few years and we tend to not have any of those remaining because they just go so fast. So
yeah, the quad is probably really popular for people to go to.
Yeah, and you have to be careful because the singles will go before the doubles. So really double check and make sure if it's a single, the room numbers are different. So you and your roommate should have a different room number. If you're signing up for the same room, the room will be the same number, if that makes sense. So if we're both in 123, then it's a double. If you're in 123 and I'm in 124, it's a single.
Got it. And basically the singles, each person gets their own bedroom, but they share a bathroom.
Correct, yes.
And in the double singles, 2 people live in one bedroom, one person lives in their own bedroom, and they share a bathroom.
Correct.
And then I guess there's a few doubles where 2 people on each side and they share a bathroom.
Yeah, those will be open for groups of 4 or split into for groups of 2. But as you mentioned, there's not very many. The most of them are in Shaw.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, so what if I don't want to be in a group, or I just don't, it's not going to happen. I've got to wait for an individual sign. What am I going to see at that point?
Whatever's left. And at this point, I can't really tell you what that's going to be because I don't know where we're going to have spaces remaining. But as I mentioned, as you heard, groups of 3 where there's one space remaining, those will be released. We'll open up any space that wasn't used for groups of 4 or 3 or 2. The addition for individual that isn't offered for groups will be our traditional singles. We're going to try to do our best to make a guess at how many spaces in each building, but our traditional double spaces that are turned into singles will be offered as well. There may be limited, so if you're interested, log in at your start time, and if there's space available, you can select it.
Okay. So it sounds like it's really important to be part of a group because they're going to get to go first before everything else. And even if it's just finding a random person in Canvas, that's better than just getting a random person later in the process when you won't be able to see anything.
Right. And once you've been assigned and once your other roommates have been assigned, you can go in and look at your assignment and see your roommates, and you can reach out to them and contact them.
Cool. Okay. Is there anything else we should know, or the process for individual sign?
I think that's all for now.
All right. And once again, the individual sign goes last, and it's on a Saturday, so nobody's in class and doing that. The nice thing about the group ones, even though they're during the week, you have another person to fall back on to do that during that time frame. So what if I don't find a room anywhere during this thing? I just, there's not a space I want. What's going to happen?
So I would just tell you to keep checking. I'm interested to see this year how quickly spaces fill up, but
you don't have to pick a room by March 6th?
No. That's just when it starts. You have till June 30th to select a space. So just keep checking. That's what I always tell students. Keep checking. Spaces will continue to open up. Now this year we are doing something different. Typically I would say deassign if you don't like your space, but this year we're going to allow you to keep your room if you do find a space. Once you do find a space, keep your room and then do a room change. So as people are doing these room changes, looking for another space, once they select a new space, their old space will be released. So if you were seeing their space or the new space they selected and you didn't like it, and they release a space you do want, you'll start to see spaces that way. The other way you'll see spaces is when people cancel. So typically when students cancel, because there's so many reasons, they decide to transfer, they withdraw, they.
So when does room change start?
April 1st.
All right, so basically I've got a room and I've decided I don't want it. Began April 1st, I can go in and start looking for another room.
Correct.
Wow. And do I have to give up my room?
Nope, you get to hold on to that and search for another space. Once you select the new space and you click finish and you booked the new space, your old space will be released and it will be open for someone else to select.
Oh, that's new. That sounds pretty cool.
Yep.
That's great. All right, well, I think we've got a lot of stuff. We've almost been going here almost an hour. So, you know, hopefully this has been helpful. We're going to do another one of these basically on room retention, and then we'll do another one probably before we actually get to the groups of 2, 3, and 4 and the individual self-assign. But so, yeah, if you take a look at this, we're going to post this or send this out as an email to students, maybe post it on the web. If you have any feedback for us, please send it to hrl@uncg.edu. I want to thank Emily Ainsworth, our assistant director, who is responsible for all the assignments, and you know, appreciate your time. And as I said, we're looking for some feedback, and I hope you enjoyed this. Take care, everybody.